good evening to everyone. Thanks for the opportunity to present Helicus as a company, and also the Helicus Air Initiative, which is, let's say, a cooperation. We'll come back to that. Of various organizations that indeed want to enable integrated and automated drone services. Let's say. Yeah. So basically, we have a medical background. Elvin hinted to that, initiated by actually centralization of healthcare networks. That is one of the means by which, in view of the rising technical possibilities and therefore also rising cost levels, the healthcare can still provide a good coverage contribution cost-wise to, let's say, Western world populations. Yeah, however, this centralization puts in place, let's say, additional need for transport between centralized technical medical functions and their hospitals where the patients go to, right? And this puts in place quite some stress on the system as to long waiting times, inability to provide on-demand testing, and in the end also sample quality that is reduced. And the idea, the question that came to us was like, drones, do they not provide a solution for this type of challenge? And also the legislation, is it not evolving? And indeed, those two areas are the reason why we actually said, yes, there is a solution from the unmanned aviation world that can support actually the medical community, and that's also the reason why we created Helicus as a separate organization, as a company. The idea is then, okay, what are various cases that could be provided, and I guess most of you have heard of quite a few. That basically it's about intercampus medical transport, pathology, clinical biology, pharmacy, as well as blood supply from the central network. So basically medical transport solutions. Also organ transport is something already a bit more difficult, a bit more sensitive already, going into the delivery of AEDs, defibrillators, to unknown locations. And then finally, also passenger drones to be used for transport of doctors to trauma locations and reverse, let's say, collection of patients towards medical emergency, let's say, services. Basically, from left to right, this is an evolution of into complexity, and that's also the route we take to follow, where in the first part we have basically services that are now being created, and on the last part we actually have, as you will see a few later slides, we have R&D activities ongoing. That's a bit the approach as to what we want to do. And basically ourselves, from a Helicus side, we want to put in place a full chain. And typically you need a few building blocks, drone platforms, obviously, also ground integration, drone cargo port, as we call it, and a command and control center to supervise the missions. Let's maybe take one by one the building blocks, going to the drone platforms, where actually we as Helicus, we don't build our own drone. So we collaborate with several manufacturers for the key reason that actually our customers require a variety of solutions that cannot be covered by a single drone. And for that, we offer an open-ended collaboration towards manufacturers that are willing to, let's say, to collaborate and to jointly develop an integrated solutions. And we offer from Helicus side, as you will see later, a command and control center. And these are examples of the drone partners that we collaborate with. Also, as you will also see later in certain, let's say, projects. So that's the drone platform side. And by being, let's say, not focusing on a specific platform, we think that we're actually quite customer focused. Yeah. So we will be able to also provide each of these platforms with good opportunities to find actually operations and business as well. The drone cargo port is the ground integration that is required. So we don't only, let's say, fly between roofs, but we also collect in an automated and safe fashion the drones. So basically, it is about, you have here an example of a drone cargo port on a hospital the roof, where drone handling, cargo handling, and the building integration is covered, and let's say more unskilled labor can actually collaborate with this type of transport system. The third building block is the command and control center. By the way, I'm going very fast because I understood we only have 15 minutes, so it's a bit speedy, but at least you will have some kind of feeling of what we're up to. So the third building block is the command and control center. This is in a way the heart of the full system, which is in the center here. The operator manages, let's say, a fleet of drones through a command and control center. It's let's say trained as a pilot, but acting as an operator rather than as an individual drone pilot, and multiple systems, drone platforms are connected to the system. Multiple drone cargo ports with their interactions are connected to the same system, and that, let's say, flights are executed based on authorizations from the use-based service providers that themselves are connected with a common information service provider. So all these links, these interfaces, are exactly what actually we put in place, as well as the order intake. So we have specific automated order intake functions that allow a full cycle through, and finally to reach our objective to create an automated fleet management that covers a full integration of all the functions. Yeah? So this is the command and control center. We have installed it. Actually, we've launched the physical center 2018, but we started in, let's say, 2013 with our group to, let's say, evaluate various opportunities. Our founders have a medical background, either having, like myself, managed a care group, or worked like for 2 decades in the pharma industry, or managed a lab, multi-site laboratory. So that is the, let's say, background of many of our of our senior group, where also we are pilots ourselves. So typically a private pilot licensed, overly hobbyist that come from the medical sector. So that's our profile. And over the years, we said, like, look, and I described it earlier, why we started Helicus in 2016 formally, where we went to build an ecosystem of partners, because this is quite, as you can imagine, a complex challenge, and no one can do it alone in a stable way. So we, from the start, started to partner with, let's say, industry leaders in their field, as well as a large group of hospitals, from which we created specifications, and basically Helicus manages the specification of this integrated fleet-based solution. And with that group, we started to subscribe to, let's say, project calls. And we, in 2016, after creating, let's say, our specification, and we won, let's say, participation in the Sapphire project that Alvin mentioned. It's a European project that was oriented towards creating basically ideas to support legislation at the European level. In 2018, it was, let's say, voted that legislation on unmanned aviation became at the European level, and these projects were initiated and became, by the way, the input for the legislation that, you know, that was in power as of 31st of December 2020. So following exactly the results of this project. And in parallel, we have the HIA, Helicus initiative. Medrona project was actually the interfaces that we developed to be used then in, let's say, the Sapphire project, including our first urban UTM-based flight on the 3rd of October 2019, that we flew between the St. Augustine Hospital and University Hospital of Antwerp. It's an urban flight where we use the interface between our command and control center and, let's say, Belco Control at that time, and now called Skies. There, let's say that connection was was actually the flight was registered and accepted in parallel to the execution of the physical flight. So that was pretty avant la lettre. Also, if you know that today also we have quite a few flights that happen in several Western European countries where it is said that these are the first flights. Actually, we are, 2 years ago, we already did indeed our first urban flight, following also, and that's not without interest, a UTM approach. The both projects were delivered. It's always good to start a project, but even better to fully reach the targets. And for that, we then started additional projects. And the drone cargo port project was initiated. That's what you see in the slide before, the ground integration. Also, we have SES, which is focused on scheduling, connectivity, and security. So 3 key aspects to be safe. Scheduling is the automatic calculation of routes in the command and control center. Connectivity is the stable connectivity between drone and command and control center. And the security is how can you, let's say, weaponize yourself or arm yourself against malicious intent. So that is ongoing. Will end, by the way, this project will end of this year. So it is quite a boost in our competencies and capabilities. And in parallel, we had Sapphire, which we won in 17, ran over 18 and 19, close beginning of 20. We have now Sapphire Met. You already see it in the name. It's the follow-up project of Sapphire. It is covering not only Belgium, and Sapphire was very much oriented on Belgium. Sapphire Met is Belgium, Netherlands, and Germany. We will have 3 demonstration activities in 3 legislations where Helicus will act as operator for 4+1 platforms. So these different platforms where we will check the new legislation, which is a challenge, because I don't know, we had flights still in Amsterdam a few weeks ago or in the Gulf of Finland, but those still actually used the extensions of national legislation. It's very tough to already start applying the new European legislation, but actually that's our full target in our project, no more, no less. And actually already on the 8th of October of 2021, we already did a full flight in Antwerp using actually the according to full European legislation under, let's say, with Helicus as an operator. And this is really very interesting. This project has the intention to fuel the new wave of European legislation that, as you know, will come out in 2023. So this is quite interesting and important for the partners that we are actually aligned with this new legislation from day one, as it will come out. And this is actually this flight, that's actually the October flight that we now did. And then, we'll have pilots in 23, and we'll have, we foresee first commercial usable systems in place in 2024, just to have, let's say, an idea. And because our target is to go to robust integrated unmanned medical systems. This just to give you an idea. This is, by the way, our front page of the Sapphire Met project. You see, it's huge, 17 project partners from throughout Europe, with 5 drone manufacturers, with ANSPs, navigation service providers, also USSPs from different countries, cities, also EASA is, for example, advisory board member, same as Eurocontrol. So this is a fantastic area, fantastic group to develop these kind of situations and solutions. And this is, by the way, the high level view of what we do. So we go between hospital and lab. We fly based on a flight path that is ordered from the hospital towards the operator and calculated here in our command and control center. So Helicus acts as operator into the project. And we then obtain, let's say, permissions, handshake with Skydrone and Dronic for the flights, with check with air traffic control. And once obtained, the flight paths that have been uploaded digitally to our different partners with very different drones, specialized in very specific missions, that can then be executed, monitored via the telemetry into the command and control center, as well as the full flight execution and updates between the interfaces with the USB services providers are also put in place. All of this sounds, easy, but it's actually quite an interesting challenge to get it really done in practice. And these flights will also be interacting with manned aviation through different scenarios. And also we will simulate a huge number of flights on top of the physical flights, so that we also do a volume testing of the system. So that as a quick overview of what we want to do. In the meantime, you can say like, okay, what is medical about the full setup? Well, we do also medical validation. Last year we did medical validation of the solution at the hospital. So we did a series of flights where in double-blind mode, scientific way, actually it was documented that the flights, do not have a statistic relevant impact on the clinical outcome of samples. So this is of course key to evaluate that. The study results will come out soon, but it looks good so far. These are images from our tests that took place, related to that. So quite a lot of flights, it was a huge operation with a lot of volunteers also to provide blood samples and so on. So it's in close cooperation between aviation and the medical world. It's quite an interesting experience that we went through. Maybe a little word on the Helicus Area Initiative. So we have, in fact, 35 hospital partners that are joining, and that are, crossing the border. We started in Belgium. We now have also partners in, the Netherlands and Germany. And it's quite a positive collaboration. On the industrial side, we have a group of, organizations that are project after project. You saw that in the overview, collaborating towards a joint solution, and helping the full community forward as to standardization and an alignment on safety measures. This group of people that was a picture, by the way, of 2017. Here, this is at the opening of our command and control center in 2018, where the similar group was together. The similar group is still the core of our activities. Only new partners are added on. And we collaborate through various projects towards a joint solution. Shall probably not go too much in detail. I don't know, Elwin, what the time is and how much time is left.
Yes, Mikhael, you had just in time, so
okay,
you can
perfect.
finish if you want. I don't know if you want to say more.
Well, I hoped in a short amount of time to have at least given a flavor of what we're busy with. Of course, this type of presentation typically is at least an hour. So I hope I did not rush you through too much. And I don't know if there's a possibility of questions or it's one way here, Alan.
No, it's a one way, but the people at home,
okay,
they can send us questions to info@drone-days.be. And if there are some questions for you as a speaker, or if they want to come in contact with you, we can send the people the emails and we can contact you. But no, it was not a rush. I think it was very interesting to show the people how you work. What are you doing with drones? For us, I think for the sector, it's very interesting in this social acceptance to show the people that drones are doing good things. I think that's the image we need to have, and that's a nice message you brought today. So thank you for that.
Absolutely. Thanks a lot for the opportunity. And like you say, Elwin, so we are actually an open system of collaboration. So if any actor has something to bring to the, let's say, the ecosystem, the high ecosystem, and would like something in return that it's in balance, you can always contact me through Elwin and see whether we could collaborate. So it's quite a challenge to get this type of integrated solutions in place. A lot of aspects to cover, and we're very open and very interested if you have components in a B2B solution to be added. So looking forward.
Okay, thank you, Mikhael. Thank you, and I would say have a nice day. See you hopefully soon, and have a nice flights over there.